The major innovation in underwater vehicles perhaps started about in the late 80s, very early 90s. When I entered the field of underwater vehicles, a copy of, that was in the very late 80s, a copy of a vehicle would cost maybe $20 million, $30 million per unit. It required its own ship to operate. It required its own crew to maintain it. So it was, just to give you an idea, maybe 30, 40 meters long, very heavy. As I said, it required its own ship to operate. Then we had a bright idea that, why not try to see if we can actually create a smaller vehicle and use that to see if we can substitute for the big underwater vehicles that were in existence at the time. So I put myself a challenge that how about if we try to design one which was roughly 2 meters long, less than 100 kilograms or so in weight, dry weight there, and see if we can actually perform something useful. And indeed, we were very successful in that. We created the original ship, which was the Odyssey 1, but at the time we called it just the Odyssey, which was almost exactly to specs, 2 meters long, a little bit more than 100 kilograms, but not by much. And it really brought down the price. On parts, for example, I remember it's still like it was yesterday, it cost about $137,000. So instead of the 20 million or 30 million that it's kind of big brother, so to speak, all of a sudden now we had a vehicle that was costing much less. And it took notice, the Office of Naval Research took notice of our research and really gave us a lot of very good funding. And within 5 days, we had built a fleet of roughly 20 vehicles like this that were available for scientists to use. So the modern ships, the modern AUVs, if you like, were generated by that simple idea that we had back in the early 90s, which is, can we make a small vehicle be as productive as the big vehicles? And in effect, they ended up being more productive because now you could use ships of opportunity. Any scientist can afford them and try new ideas, try new. So this is the basis of, if you like, the major evolution in AUVs that you see today. They are all approximately the same size, 2 meters, 3 meters in size. You are asking the price of operation of an AUV per day, per unit of time. Is still evolving because we still require some chaperoning from, if you like, a surface vehicle. It doesn't have to be a big one, but we still require a vehicle that will deploy it. I'm envisioning in about 3 or 4 years from now, we will have vehicles permanently deployed in these offshore sites. So that cost will go away, and if we make them sturdy enough that they can last for, let's say, 6 months, so they can operate without any supervision for that period of time, then that will make it a lot less expensive. So right now, I would say maybe it will cost us about $30,000 to $40,000 a day versus the $250,000. So there is definitely a benefit. What do I see in the near future? perhaps bringing that down to almost zero, because I will require something to bring it to the site and then collect the previous one for maintenance and then do the reverse after 6 months. So it's really being driven down to almost zero as we gain more confidence in leaving these vehicles out unattended near platforms and being able to operate them for that extended period of time. I was lucky in a way that development in electronics was in my favor, namely they started getting smaller and smaller. The most difficult problem, which we haven't solved even today, batteries which were reasonable in capacity were available now all of a sudden. So, I could, with minimum amount of ingenuity, I can have a useful payload of battery, and then since I can recharge these batteries underwater, I can provide a station where I can actually go recharging. Of this, I would say the one that is still my biggest problem is the energy storage. If I can solve this and get it into being able to operate 5 or 6 days without any recharging, then I would say we have really reached almost the goal that I was envisioning when I started this research. But even today, with just 1 day, you can still accomplish very many useful things. So in answer to your question, I would say the first one is the power, the ability to really provide rechargeable power undersea. That's really perhaps the most. The problem of navigation still exists, but in the context of what we want to do, which is namely operate in a particular area, we can make sure that we put enough aids that will tell us where we are, so that has become a non-problem. The area of electronic miniaturization is progressing in its own accord from other fields, so that is to our benefit. We can use it for free. Computers are becoming much more powerful every day, so that is also to our benefit. Communication is still a problem, but again, for short distances that I'm interested, there is no real problem. Video compression and video transmission is still a problem, but we just managed to solve, for example, this last difficult problem of communicating video from undersea with the reasonable time delays that we should be able to do what we need to do quite effectively.